Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Matt, Client Success Manager for White House Custom Color, and we really appreciate you joining us today. Before we get started with Aaron and Elizabeth, make sure and hit the subscribe button for the WHCC YouTube page, and also make sure to follow along on our Instagram at WHCC Pro. So without further ado, let's move to our special guests for the day. So Aaron and Elizabeth,
yes,
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. You are our inaugural special guests at the lab, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. So, to begin with, will you just tell everybody who's with us today a little bit more about yourselves, how you came to be where you're at right now? I think everybody would like to know that story.
Well, that's a good question.
We'll just start with that one right at the beginning.
Well, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And we started our adventure 13 years ago in photography and decided that we would give it a shot. We both had a passion for it for years since we were children and wanted to venture into running our own photography studio.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know right now you are located in Maple Grove, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What were the other locations leading up to that? Because I think there's been a few.
Well, we first started in our house in Brooklyn Center.
Okay.
So that was where we really got the ball rolling. Okay. Then we moved to Northeast Minneapolis, and we had a few locations in Northeast Minneapolis. So.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then you are in your current space from there.
Current space from there.
Perfect. Now, have you always been in Boudoir, or has the business progressed over the years, changed the style and the format that you're working with?
Of course, it evolved and changed over the time. But yeah, we started doing families, seniors, and babies, and a few weddings, those kinds of things. Okay. Mostly we started with family, and then it went from there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And high school seniors too, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. So I think that it's really important to talk today about how the progression has happened and how you guys have gotten to the place where you're at in your business. And I think it's awesome that you're our first guest because you really have come, a long ways, and you're doing well. The business is doing great. You're a wonderful couple. So tell us more about your why. I know that this is, because I'm lucky enough to know the why, but I'd like you to explain the why to everybody that's listening today.
Our big why is just to empower and encourage women, and all women. So that's our main why.
Yeah. And how do you, I think it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
But how do you as a couple, and specifically you, Elizabeth, how do you do that? Because I know you do it.
Yeah. It's really getting involved in our clients' their why of why they're doing it, and knowing the purpose for them coming in to see us. So I really truly pour myself into them as they come into the studio. So
definitely.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things with reading the client is when they fill out our survey or they contact us right away and you're like, why are you doing this? And it's always, oh, it's my husband's birthday, or oh, it's my spouse's this, or it's spouse's that. But once we get to know them and they actually are in the studio, they find out that it's actually not for them.
Yeah.
So we've had more, probably 90% of our clients are like, you know what, this was more for me than it was for them. So
That's awesome. And I'm sure that a lot of that comes from just the way that you're able to draw that out of them, when they're there for the session, because you spend a lot of time with your clients, right?
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
Hours.
Yeah. And we're going to get into that in a minute here. So let's talk about, if I was going to ask you to describe your business, what would be the key words that you would say, these are the things that describe our boudoir business that are specific to For Girls Glamour?
Ooh. I would say boutique.
Okay.
Intimate.
Yep.
And personable.
Okay, awesome. I love those words. So I had put a couple things down here, as far as a very niche-based business. Obviously boudoir, product-based,
Yes.
Because you're definitely a more product-based business.
Yeah.
Just so everybody that's watching understands like the scale of your current business, like how many sessions are you doing during a year? Do you know that off the top of your head?
We do. Well, our goal is 120, and we hit that once in a while. Last year we did 111.
Okay.
Which was perfect. We had a few things with the big move last year where we were living at the lake for 3 weeks, longer than we wanted to.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
We didn't really have a studio for a while, so that took a few. I think we had 5 weeks that we ended up total not being able to work. So
Yeah.
we had to move some sessions around, and some of them got pushed into 2022 because of that. But
Yeah.
120 sessions a year, and we normally have no problem hitting that.
Got it. And you're doing in-person sales for every single one of these?
Yes.
Every
correct?
single one.
Okay. So let's break down the sessions a little bit before we get too deep into the sales part of this. So you have a very specific approach for your sessions. You know, your why delves into that and how you're designing your sessions. Are you doing the sessions by time? Are you allowing a client, if they come in at 9 a.m., you're going to be done by 11? Are you doing it by number of clothing changes, options, number of sets? Because there's so many schools of thought
Yeah.
of how people structure these. How do you guys structure your sessions?
We kind of structure it off from both of those things, time and outfits. I don't say sets per se because we just do outfit changes, but we do a 90-minute session and it's 3 outfits.
Okay.
And that does not include the hair and makeup. So hair and makeup is another hour before that. So
Okay.
from the time they walk in the door to about the time that we sit down and start looking at images, it's about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you are doing their session, or they're doing the hair and makeup first,
Yeah.
doing the session, and then are you doing their sales presentation while they're there, or are they coming back later?
No, so we just moved to a new way of doing things, and they look at them same day. So we do
Okay.
same day reveals, is what we call it. So.
Okay, cool. And how long are you spreading those out? Because obviously you're not just going to go from one and jump right into another. There has to be a time in between there.
Yeah, so we allot about 4.5 hours. So we say it's a half a day. So somebody's going to take the day off or take a half a day off from work to come and spend the day with us.
Yeah, nice. Well, that makes the experience really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have 1 hour of slough, so if a client comes at 10 and we take longer to shoot because we're giggling and laughing at a great time, or we go longer on looking at the images, we still have that hour of play time between, so we never book anybody back to back either, which is...
We really want to give them the feel that it's all about them
Yep.
and it's not about anything else. We want them to feel like they have time to open up to us and express what the session is doing for them.
Cool. So then do you feel, because you didn't used to do it that way, they came back at a separate time, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So how has this change impacted sales-wise? Has it made sales higher? Has it made sales lower? Has it kept, give me a little insight on that, because I think that's really interesting that you've been on both sides of that.
Well, you can talk to the sales guy, but
Okay, I'll talk to the sales
Yeah.
guy.
but my opinion is it's the same,
It
Okay.
is.
but it's more rewarding for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's actually, we were a little nervous going into it. We were trying not to have a nervous and negative mindset, like, oh, it's going to be lower, but we're like, they're not going to like their images, they're not edited. How's that going to work? Well, Liz came up with a really good pre-talk after she's done, and we get the images loaded up and they're on the big screen. She's like, okay, now here's what we do, and we have all the artwork around the studio, and she's like, this is what it's going to look like when we're done, so you have to get the scar or the stretch mark or whatever it is that you don't like about yourself out of your mind, because it's not going to look like that when you're done.
Okay.
And I'm just like, okay, we're going to go through it once, and you're going to say yes or no, and I just want, if the image touches you, you say yes. If you hate the image, you say no. If you're not sure, we'll leave it in for now. And we just go through it that way and narrow down, and at the end of the day, we end up the same so far.
Yeah.
First quarter was the
Okay.
same as last year's first quarter, so
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So then you are putting the trust into the client to be able to come along with you on that journey.
Yeah.
When you say, trust us,
Yeah.
this is what the finished product is going to look like. And people have been receptive to that?
My
Yeah.
favorite has been the few that have said,
Don't
you
edit me.
don't even need to
Oh.
edit it. This is
Yep.
perfect the way it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So seeing them see themselves with nothing done, but just the way that we see them is amazing, and them accepting that.
Awesome. And I think that is a really cool thing, and really awesome that you guys have taken notice of that, and people are understanding that they are wonderful how they are,
Yeah.
and no artwork necessary. So you're a hair and makeup artist. You work specifically with one person, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she basically camps out at your house?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I've been to your home, to the studio, and you have a little room that works perfectly. Can you, since we don't have a visual on that, can you describe how that functions and how that room works and all that stuff? I think everybody would love to know that.
Yeah. It's like, what, 10 by 10?
Yeah. A little
It's
bit
about
bigger, but
10
yeah.
by 10 room, and she has a dresser with all of her things, a beautiful lit mirror, and we have a nice soft light coming in. And Jen just gets to lay out all her stuff and make herself at home so that she feels comfortable doing what she does. And the client just walks in and sits down, and Jen makes her feel like she's at home.
That's awesome. So the experience begins right then.
Right then.
Awesome. And are you staying on a pretty rigid schedule as far as we have a 9 a.m. and we have a 1 p.m. or a 2 p.m.?
Yep.
Do you, so she knows her schedule, I'm
Yeah.
in
Yes.
at 8 or I'm in at noon, I'm all set up, I'm
Yep.
ready to go?
We've been working with Jen for 8 years now, so she knows us. She's family to us, so she's in.
I thought we weren't using her name. Nobody can steal her.
So yeah, she knows how we work now, and we mesh well together.
Awesome. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and I know the answer to this, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank the importance of having a specified hair and makeup artist that you work with? A 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. and one that fits your personality.
Your personality.
Like
Yep.
Liz and I were just talking the other day about our brand and how much Jen is our brand, even though it's Aaron and Elizabeth.
Yep.
Nobody looks at Jen or thinks of Jen as an employee or something else. They all think of her as part of our brand. So making sure that that person that you have in there not only does the job perfect like you want it, but also is there to represent you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's representative of your personalities too. You kind of bring people into the family all the time.
We do?
I kind of feel like I'm part of the family. So let's talk about how people find you. And I know that we could talk for 2 hours about this because you guys have a social media presence and a platform that you've built very successfully. So since we are on a limited time schedule today, can you just touch on how you've built that, the magic file that's always up to date and ready to go, and the things that you've put into play to keep yourselves organized with that? Because I think a lot of, I think a lot of photographers struggle with that. So what are you doing to maximize your efficiencies with social media?
I think we have to back up a little bit to rigid lifestyle that we've had since the day we got married.
Okay.
So we've been homeschooling for 22 years. So we live a very rigid schedule just in general. So I'm very organized, and yeah, we have a file folder that's labeled Instagram, and I put images into it, and Aaron pulls them out.
Yeah, so
You make it sound so easy.
she does. So kind of part of our life has always been that way. We used to work
Yeah.
2 jobs. I worked for Target, she worked for a local hospital, and then we ran the studio at the same time. So using a system that we created over the years of Aaron, on Mondays you do this, Tuesdays you do this, Wednesday you do that. And then she just makes sure that folder's always full for me. And then we have 2 separate folders. So she'll throw them in the full res in case I need them for something. Otherwise she'll put them in the small. If she doesn't put them in there, then I go and resize them, because that's one thing I can do.
You're qualified?
I'm qualified to use Lightroom, so that's amazing. And then from there, I just, once a week, I either do Facebook for the month, or I do Instagram for the month, or I do Twitter for the month. It just depends on what week it is, but go through all that and then organize it that way. The group, our VIP group, is the same way. We also have 4 brand ambassadors, or booty babes as we call them,
Yes.
that help us run the group because it needs more interaction than just Elizabeth and I, because Facebook knows if it's just you doing it all.
Got it.
So we have a few of our top clients that come in and they run the group for us. One does it Mondays, one does it Tuesdays, one does it Wednesdays. So then we can kind of sit back on those days and watch the group activity
Cool.
go that way.
So say more about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring up the VIP group. Now, this is a way that you communicate, just so we're clear, with past clients?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or is it potential clients?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead. Talk about that.
So yeah, we do posts, we do games in there, we do get to know yous, and we talk about ourselves a little bit in there so that potential clients can get to know us, and then they feel more comfortable when they come in.
Yep.
And we continue on with our journey with our past clients, which is amazing. So we get to hear about their 4-legged babies maybe, or
Yep.
their regular babies. So it's
Apparently
very,
that's the most popular thing.
Yeah.
What was it, National Pet Day 2 days ago?
Yeah.
And I think that was our most interactive
Yeah.
post in a year was since last National Pet Day.
so, and we are in that group, not as much as I sometimes wish I could be, but being a mom of 5 kids, it gets hard. But
Yeah.
we do interact in there, and we get to know them better, which is amazing for us.
Now, in your regimented time schedule, Elizabeth, how much time do you devote a week for that? You personally as a team, not your ambassadors.
I would have to say that's probably one of the things that we're actually not regimented about.
Okay.
That would be the thing that we're scrolling on when we finally are on the couch at night.
Got it.
So that would be my wind down time, and then I can comment on, Ashley's post, or, oh, you're having a bad day or something happened, then I can just say, hey, I'm here for you if you need to talk or something like that. So.
Yeah. So how do you manage that type of relationship with your clients? Because if you're asking, you mean it.
Yep.
You're not just doing it just to fill space. So how do you, for people who are listening, that's an awesome thing, and that interaction is what builds the rapport and builds the stickiness with your clients. How do you find the time to share yourself like that? Or how do you manage that?
In little doses.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, we had one the other day that messaged us, and it was a little later at night, and I was like, oh, it's a sad story. I can't deal with this right now. My mind's not in the right place. So I had to wait till morning, and I was like, I
Yep.
set the phone away,
Yep.
and then in the morning, when I got up and was in a better place where I could communicate and share emotion with somebody, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And then she opened up about, it was a client that actually just ghosted a session. And we're like, oh, wouldn't return text or nothing. And she opened up how her abusive husband was verbally abusing her the morning of the session and told her she wasn't good enough and she shouldn't be doing it. And
So I think it's setting some boundaries like Aaron did. We're getting better with setting boundaries, but we're still open a little
Yeah.
bit for that. But I was very proud of him when he was like, nope, I can't emotionally deal with this right now.
Compartmentalize
Yep.
that. Yep.
So.
Yep. I think that's really good. So you've already kind of answered this a little bit, but who photographs and who sells?
Well, we both can do both,
Okay.
but I'm a camera hog.
Self-admittedly.
Yep.
So I do most of the sessions. He's always in the session. He does all the lighting, helps with reflectors.
Okay.
He's also really good at noticing that, jewelry isn't right, or that kind of stuff. And then he
So-
does all the sales.
So the age-old question that comes up, and you probably are reading my mind as to what this is going to be, what is the response to a female subject with Aaron there during the session?
Aaron's like one of the girls. But go ahead, you can say.
We're really open and honest about it from the get-go, so if they're not if they don't feel comfortable, they're not going to book with us.
Yeah. And that's
Some
okay.
have said,
So you
know,
come as a package deal.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a package deal, and it's out there that it's a package deal. It says Aaron and Elizabeth everywhere. All of our photos, like at the beginning, there's no individual Elizabeth or individual Aaron photos floating around it's always us together. So,
Okay.
so that's a big deal. We build our brand around that.
Yep.
And we built the trust around that, I think.
And you're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff too during the sessions. I see that on your social media feed.
Yeah, if we have permission from our clients to be able to do that, then absolutely we take advantage and do behind the scenes. And more stuff ends up in our VIP group, so Matt, you don't get to see it.
Got it, yeah.
But Aaron does all the the warm up to the clients coming in. So the girls get to know him before they even come in. He's doing all the responding. He's doing all of the email, the texting, the phone calls. So yeah.
Zoom meetings.
Zoom
whatever it
meetings,
is.
whatever needs to be done, he does that.
Okay.
So
Cool. So I'm going to bounce back in our conversation a little bit here because I think it's important that people understand the amount of work that you put in to get to where you're at, because I think it's easy to look at a successful business and be like, yeah, I want that, I want to do that. But you worked full-time at Target,
Yep.
you worked full-time at a hospital, and then you had full-time for Girls Glamour
Yep.
going. So you guys paid your dues along the way. You worked hard, you put in a lot of hours to get where you're
Yes.
at. So for somebody who is listening to this, that is aspiring, that is new into the business, that is trying to get into product, that is trying to build their brand, what are a few words of encouragement for that person who's listening right now?
power through.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exhausting. It's not for everybody. But if your heart and soul is in it and it's what you really want, I think you'll make it work.
It feels right while you're doing it too. Like,
Yeah, we didn't hate it. It wasn't like another job. It
Yeah.
was, but
It was what you really wanted to do.
it was really what we wanted.
I can remember, and since I'm lucky enough to have known you guys for a long time, I can remember when you told me that you were going to be full-time with the studio. And I think that there was some concern, and there was also a lot of excitement. And I can remember not too long after, we were texting or you called, and you're like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And it's once you lose that side distraction, you guys just like focused.
it was,
Yep.
it
And it
was
seemed
crazy.
like the business just exploded from there. So those changes in your life, you don't have to be scared of them,
No.
you know, and you
If
just
there's
have to
not a
work
little
through
fear,
them.
maybe it's not what you're supposed to do, right? So,
Yeah.
That's very true.
but yeah, it was within 6 weeks of both of us leaving our corporate jobs that all of a sudden she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I think so."
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just knew it
And
was
then
right.
all of a sudden we're like, "We're booked 4 months out right now."
Yeah.
Now we're feeling a little stressed the other way.
So along those lines then too, as we're talking about starting up, we discussed briefly before we got on the call or on the video today, when you started, did you photograph models? Did you pay models to come in? How did you get your original base images when you were trying to build your clientele?
Well, the first 5 were friends.
Friends,
Okay.
We're like,
family.
Hey, we're going to try this.
Yeah.
And do we have any brave souls?
I mean, I have some girlfriends from my job at the hospital that still come in for sessions, and it's amazing. And they were my first guinea pigs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, but yeah, we did model. Trying to get people to sign model releases when you're first starting out was difficult. So
Yeah.
we made some friends in the industry. We created a little gathering that we called PAM,
Yep.
and started to meet more models that way, and then other photographers at the same time. So Liz and I just opened our studio up to people, hair and makeup artists, and brought them in and created a little event that would help people get images.
Get images.
For
Yeah.
that. So
It's like you're reading my mind.
What?
It's a scary place to be. So PAM, Photographers and Models is what that stands for.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys did. You literally opened up your studio, you organized these events, you brought in snacks and drinks and models, and people could come in and photograph.
yeah.
Awesome experience and a way of giving back. So talk a little bit more about that. Like if you were going to be new into the industry, like how would you find a resource like that? Because that would be wonderful. Like if you're just starting and you get to go into an awesome space and do that, how would people find things like that?
Facebook
Yeah,
groups.
I mean, that's how we did it, was through
Yep,
Facebook
all-
groups. We kind of just
Yep.
put it out
Word
there.
of mouth.
And then how do you find the models for that? Is it from your VIP group, or how did you get those people to come in?
They were from our VIP group and just people that we had met along the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So clients, friends, models, industry related,
Yep.
everything.
Usually we,
Mostly models.
like we'd met one and we're like, hey, we're going to do this event. Do you have anybody that would be?
Yeah. Do you have a model friend that would be interested in doing this also? So.
Okay.
And once we built trust and rapport with one or two models, and they were able to be like, oh yeah, this person would love working with you guys. And
Yep.
Cool.
so I think our last Pam we did, we had like 10
Yeah.
models.
Yeah.
And it was too
And
big.
5 hair and makeup artists.
Yeah, it was busy.
It was so busy.
I think we had to set up in the hallway, and it was
Yeah.
crazy.
So.
Yeah, and
but
that was pre-COVID.
That was
Yes.
pre-COVID.
Yeah, and then the world changed.
And
a
then the
lot.
world changed.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about sales. Okay, so you are a product-based business. Like we talked about earlier, you're doing your hair and makeup session, and then you're going right into the sales presentation. What are some of your favorite products? What are the things that you promote that you are selling to most of your clients?
Well, albums for sure. Like a large album is my favorite thing.
Okay.
So
What is a large album? Give us more details.
10 by 10, 12 by 12,
Okay, with how many images?
more than 30.
More than 30. Nice. So you're really getting the story told.
Yep.
Yep.
in
So
there.
I want to be able to tell a story, and that's a big thing. Telling the client too when they are looking at their images and they're really thinking about how much they want to spend, of course, and what they want for their keepsake.
Yep.
And memories. The big thing is I always say, you want to tell a story.
Right.
So whatever that story may be, that's what you want to do. So.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
question for you guys, because I've had this come up several times. When you are essentially selling a product for, quote unquote, more of a private type of session,
Yes.
I know you sell wall art.
Yeah.
How does that conversation go? Because that's $1 million conversation.
It was
right
so
there.
hard at one time. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if we didn't believe in wall art enough, or we were like, who's going to hang that in their house? Or
Yep.
to get over that and be like, okay, this is what you can do with your wall art, and just the different areas. Like we have it in our master bedroom, our master bathroom, and in our master walk-in closet.
Okay.
So we can do little Insta stories or VIP lives in our group and stuff, and be like, this is different places you can put it. And then as that grew, our clients that have jumped the, I don't know how you say it, but they like decided to get it,
Yeah.
we encourage them to post it in our group.
Okay.
So if we have
Yeah.
one that, they actually did a couple session and they have a 3 up over their bed of the 3 of them, and she's like, look at these amazing photos that Elizabeth and Aaron did for us.
Cool.
And then it just starts the ball rolling, like, oh, I didn't even think we could get wall art. Like, how embarrassing,
course.
but cool at the same time.
Yeah.
And our latest client that got a giant medal, and she put that first in her bathroom, but now she's thinking she wants it somewhere else, because every day she looks at it, she's like more proud of.
Why am I hiding it in my bathroom? But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
she has it above her big tub.
Okay.
So she has a
24 by 36.
24 by 36.
Okay.
So we're talking big pieces of art here.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
if you are selling wall art, are you also selling an album to those clients, or is it kind of
Yes.
like
So
one or the other?
For us, it's
No.
album first, and we
Okay.
want them to be able to experience that whole session. Like if you buy only 1 or 2 pieces of wall art, but you just did 3
looks.
outfits, and you
Yeah.
just spent 90 minutes with us, and there was 100 photos to go through, and you take 3,
Yeah.
that's pretty tough. So we always start with albums and build from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we have one of your little mini black books sitting here
Yeah.
on the table today too, with a custom deboss on there, so your logo's on there. Your logo is actually one of the first ones we did when we had that option. It's
So
beautiful.
pretty.
Yeah.
So are you doing that on all of your albums now?
All of our leather wrapped albums, it goes on, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So in case you didn't know that was an option, you certainly can do that now too.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit earlier about your new venue, your new adventure.
Yes.
Big one.
Big.
Major change of venue. So tell us a little bit about that transition, because I know that there was some stress that went through it. There was a lot of excitement. There was, a lot of things. Looking back at it, I think it was positive overall.
Definitely.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about that transition, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, it was a big transition for us because we are such a big family with 5 kids. So I have always been worried, like, clients are coming into our house. My house might be messy, or are they going to hear kids? And they're coming in for a day for themselves. And lots of these women are mothers, and they don't want to hear children, or at least I wouldn't want to hear other people's kids. So making sure our kids were quiet was a big thing. But so our studio used to be in a big loft style in downtown, which is amazing and beautiful. But even though people said our studio was very warm and welcoming, I think now I'm feeling that it was more cold and business-like than it coming into our home is more personable. So.
And just to explain to everybody that's listening too, the way your home is set up, you live on the top.
Yep.
And basically the studio is down a beautiful flight of stairs in the basement. So
Yes.
it is a separate space
It
altogether.
is a completely separate space, which is was very important to us, and our realtor was a past client, so she just really knew what we were looking for and really helped us find that perfect fit
Awesome.
for us.
Yeah, in this crazy real estate world right now that we live in, we were lucky enough to find a place that was very unique. And
Yes.
not everybody wanted it, so we were able to actually get it for less than market value.
Wow.
Our studio used to be an indoor swimming pool area, and they filled it in.
Yeah.
And so we still have the 12-foot ceilings that we were used to, with just about
Yes.
2,200 square feet. The old changing room for the pool is where our hair and makeup artist is.
Okay.
The old pump room for the pool is where our storage area is, and then there's a kitchenette. So it's very warm and inviting area, and everybody that walks in is just wowed by it. So
Yeah.
that makes us feel good.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, that room is straight out of like perfection for a photographer. You know?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was like it was made for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
So-
know that, going from your studio downtown, which was a lot of natural light,
Yeah.
to where you're at now, like I've been watching, I mean, of course I watch your social media, but your style has adapted and it's changed. And it's interesting that you noted the cool and the warm, because I see the images from just even a color temperature perspective,
Yeah.
they look different. And I think that it's becoming a new part of your brand now, which I think is really cool.
She's actually fell in love with it the other day. She was like,
yeah.
"Oh my goodness, I love this more than I ever thought I would."
Yeah,
Good.
I like the dark moodiness of it. So.
So then, along those lines, with moving from Minneapolis to Maple Grove, which is about a 30-minute shift,
Yeah.
how has that affected your clientele? I know that you've been doing some really fun things, like with the cigar shop. You've been posting a lot of stuff with that. You had a really cool event the other night that you were at. Like, how is, for somebody that's considering a move, how has that worked for you? Like, is it in a transition mode? Have you brought people with you? Are there new people that you're accessing? Like, how does that all fit together?
I feel like you see a transition going on there, but we don't feel a transition going on there, if that makes sense. Like, it's happening, and it's just happening organically.
Okay.
There's nothing being forced by it. Liz and I have always been into cigars, and now we're 11 minutes from the cigar shop that we used to be 30 minutes from. So the cigar world has gotten to know Elizabeth and I a little more just because of that. We actually work on Fridays at the cigar shop.
Oh, fun.
And we get yelled, "Hey, photographers,"
Yeah.
and they yell at us to come over. Like one day they got some new product in that was like the sexiest looking cigar. We ended up buying it because it was so sexy. But little cigar case.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, photographers, how do we light this? It's just not coming out right." I'm like, "It's not the light, it's your hands." And they're like, "What?" So we brought Liz over, and she had, her hands are all
So now you're a
nice
hand
and pretty.
model, too.
I guess.
And they're like, "Okay, perfect. Can we have more help?" So and then they found out that they didn't know we were photographers for the first 12 years we were going there. And they're like, "What, you guys are photographers?" We just flew somebody in from Orlando to do our last shoot. So now we'll morph that into a relationship where
Nice.
we can
It's all about relationships.
do stuff with that. But
Yeah.
you got to put yourself out there. If
Yeah.
you're not, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that we're on a limited time schedule today, so I just want to, yeah, I know, right? And keep watching that clock over there. Let's talk about delivery times and how you're outputting product to your client. When you're doing your hair and makeup session sale, what are you telling people for the lead time for the orders to be delivered to them?
Well, once they've placed their order, I edit. So those 30 to 50 images, I go and edit. So, and then I design and lay out the album, and then they proof that.
Okay.
And once they've approved their edits and their design album, you know, their layout, then it's...
We usually, so when they first inquire, we always say 6 weeks. Like
Okay.
if you have a wedding coming up and that's what you want it for, an anniversary or something, 6 weeks. That's what we want from the session to when you get the product.
That gives us time.
Once they're in the session and we're actually there, we're like, okay, now you'll probably get it in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's how we lay it out. That gives her time if something happens or we want to take a long weekend to go to Florida, enjoy the sun or something. You don't have to like, oh, I need to get these photos done.
Right.
Like, we've learned to give ourselves a little bit of that way. So telling them at the beginning that it's 6 weeks and then doing it 4, and then if it shows up at their house in 2, that's great. If it doesn't, then we're not liars.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you drop shipping all
Yeah.
of your orders then?
Yeah.
95%.
Okay, cool. And is that because of the recent move, or has it always been that way?
It's basically always been that way.
It really
but
started
it really,
when COVID.
We really feel that it was a nice way to not have to be in
Right.
contact with somebody again.
Right, exactly. So the big question for the end here. You guys have been together, been a couple, been married, 5 children, business.
Where's this going?
What is the secret? Because there is a secret to your success. You still very much enjoy each other's company. You can tell. You love what you do. You travel together. You have your family. Like how would you describe that secret? Because that is special right there.
Let's hear her explanation first.
Yeah, right. It's going to be safer for you.
I would say being open and honest with each other. Lines of communication are very important when you're working together and married, so that's very important. Also, we're back to very rigid. Like, we have our tasks, and I know what his tasks are, and he knows what mine are, and we don't step on each other's feet. So
Yeah. So very defined roles.
very defined roles,
Yeah.
yeah, and respecting those roles.
And that's huge. That's a great thing. I did want to remind anybody who's watched along too, we're going to be wrapping up here in the next couple of minutes. So if you do have any questions for Aaron and Elizabeth, make sure and put them out there, and we'll answer them live here. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. In closing, we definitely want to thank you guys for sharing with us. You're a great couple, great business owners.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's fun to have you here. We would love to continue the conversation on several aspects. I think that people could gain a lot of knowledge from seeing a space, how you've designed it, your workflow, your album sales, like all those types of things. So if you're willing to go deeper into that with us in the future, I'm sure that we would enjoy to have you back here. Or maybe we could come and hang out with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Either way.
Come and see our studio.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everybody watching, this is our inaugural special guest at the White House Custom Color Video Lab, I suppose you'd call it today. We're going to be back in May, and we're going to be focusing on newborns and family with another awesome friend and client of White House Custom Color. So make sure and hit the subscribe button so you get notifications on those. Follow along on Instagram at WHCC Pro. Where can everybody find you guys?
Oh man, we are 4 Girls Glamour everywhere. So the number 4.
Yep.
Girls Glamour, and you can find us on the Twitter, on the Instagram, the Facebook. I think we've got a Google place too. Google My Business or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And where in the world did that 4 Girls Glamour name come from?
Oh my goodness.
We have 4
late night.
daughters, yeah. Late night, rocking a baby to sleep, trying to come up with a name. But we have 4 daughters, so
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. And I think that all of your collections are named after the girls too,
They
right?
sure are.
Yes,
Yep.
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you again for being here. We
Yep.
really appreciate it and sharing with everybody. And if we do have any follow-up questions, we'll let you know and we'll get them answered back in there. So
Perfect.
thank you so much for joining us today. This has been awesome. We look forward to doing many more of these in the future. If you do have questions for Aaron and Elizabeth, make sure and drop them in, and we'll make sure and get the answers posted back on YouTube for you as well. So thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.